After 400 fast miles at Vegas, it's Carl Edwards who got his first win of the 2011 season. A strong day all around by the number 99 team gives Carl his second win at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway and a whole lot of momentum. Welcome, everyone, to NASCAR Victory Lane on speed, fueled by Sunoco. Strategy was the case today. There were many comeback stories throughout the race, but the domination story was Tony Stewart leading the most laps, but in the end, it was Carl Edwards who took the checkered flag. This is the 7th win at this track for Roush Fenway Racing, and a Ford has won 4 of the last 5 races. Hello, everybody. I'm John Roberts alongside of Kenny Wallace and Kyle Petty here in Victory Lane at Las Vegas, one of the best places of all in NASCAR is the Neon Garage here at Vegas, and there are a lot of happy people behind us right now because strategy paid off, guys, after a long, fast afternoon.
Well, we knew a Ford was going to be in Victory Lane. We didn't know if it was going to be Greg Biffle, Matt Kenseth, or this guy right here, Carl Edwards from Columbia, Missouri. But I'll tell you what, Kyle, we thought Tony Stewart was going to win this race, but a late race pit stop penalty caused him to finish second.
Yeah, I think the penalty combined with the 2 tires because they had to pick up track position and all that, put them in a different place and almost on a different cycle on the racetrack. And when you get in a different cycle, then you're not running your race. You're running somebody else's race. And I think that hurt Tony. I think if the race had been 10 or 15 laps longer, Tony had a shot at it. But I'm going to tell you, Carl was fast and the Fords were fast when they unloaded here.
And strategy was such a big thing. We hadn't seen that much in the first 2 races of the season where the strategy and the crew chiefs could really do what they get paid to do as Carl comes out and celebrates. You know, Carl is really on a roll right now, winning the last 2 of last year. 2nd place at Daytona. Not a good finish at Phoenix, but now a win at Vegas. But it was strategy. 2 tires or 4 tires. That was the great debate.
And that was the debate yesterday, the NASCAR Nationwide race. Guys running out of gas. Mark Martin wins. Here it is for his 2nd day in a row where Carl Edwards takes 2 tires on the last pit stop, propels him out about a straightaway ahead. And here it is, the 2-tire pit stop. This is the winning move because Tony Stewart had to take 4 tires, Kyle Petty.
Because he had taken 2 tires on the previous stop, you know. But when you look at it, when you're caught in that cycle, that's the difference between a 6-second pit stop or 7-second pit stop and a 12, 14-second pit stop. And when you look at it, that's a lot of space on the ground, and Tony just couldn't make it up in the end.
And, you know, this is all we need, more tools on this desk.
The Kobalt.
Oh, what does that mean? That's a good line. That's a good line. I got it.
See,
I got you.
Little bitty wrenches everywhere. I think they're about a half inch, 9/16.
So it is so early right now in the season, only 3 races in, but nonetheless, we have some drivers that you expect to be championship contenders. You expect to be at the front, and they just keep having poor run after poor run.
We talked about it this morning on race day, and you looked at Burton and Jamie McMurray, Biffle, and Ruderman. Those guys finished. Burton's 21st. McMurray's 27th, Biffle's 28th. Those guys are still in a hole. They needed to come in here, and they knew they needed to come in here and have solid top 15 runs. They didn't even break the top 20. And when you run all day long, they were in accidents at Daytona, they were in accidents at Phoenix. But when you come and you have an opportunity to make that up, you have to capitalize early, and they missed an opportunity here.
And perhaps one of the best stories of the day, a solid top 5 for Marcos Ambrose.
On the opposite end, Marcos Ambrose from Australia makes a change and says, I'm going to go drive for Richard Petty Motorsports. What a great move. Last week in Phoenix, he was the real deal. This week, he proves it. It's for real. He finishes 4th. Marcos Ambrose on his way to a really good year because he's proved the last 2 races on the flat short track and now on the 1.5 miles.
All right, got to take a quick break here on NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco. But when we come back, we'll take you through all the highlights of this Kobalt 400 here at Las Vegas and also talk to a very happy Carl Edwards. Stay with us, everybody.
NASCAR Victory Lane is fueled by Sunoco, the official fuel of NASCAR. Put the fuel of NASCAR in your car. Brought to you in high definition by Funai. Funai, fun and innovative. Experience more at FunaiAmerica.com. And by Total Cereal. Are you getting 100%?
Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco, coming to you from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And this was all about Carl Edwards at the end of this race. mostly about Tony Stewart in the middle of the race as he secured the most laps led, but was not able to have his strategy pay off at the end. Let's take you back to the green flag. Happened earlier today. Little cloudier, little windier than we thought here at Las Vegas, but nonetheless a beautiful day for racing in front of a sold-out crowd here at the LVMS.
And Matt Kenseth sits on the pole, but he says, I want to choose the outside lane. He takes the lead.
Yeah, in the early going here, for the first few laps, Matt run in the middle of the racetrack to the high side through 1 and 2. He'd go down to the bottom through 3 and 4, but he'd run a little bit higher, and Biffle chases him up. Now, after the first caution and after they come out, my man Matt here, you see the car get a little bit loose. He has a flat tire. He goes a lap down after this pit stop, and it takes him the rest of the day to fight back with this team, but they never gave up on it.
Very tough break for a guy who sat on the pole for just the 6th time in his career and also came in as the fastest car in practice, hoping to snap a long winless streak. But take a look at the number 18, one of the hometown favorites, lap number 96. He slaps the wall as well.
And this is the 2nd day in a row he had tire issues in the same area after he wrecked out yesterday.
No warning, no vibration, no nothing. It just went down.
Sometimes you don't get any warning on that situation. That was pretty much the start to the end of a rough day for Kyle Busch. There is his brother, Kurt, the number 22, as he goes for a spin.
Yeah, he just got in under the 42 car of Juan Montoya, and the thing got a little loose. It wiggled a little bit. He did a great job keeping it off the first wall there, but the 4 car of Casey Kane got run into in the back and spun down pit road 2. So, I mean, that was just one of those deals. Those guys raced into the corner hard, and it just got away from him. There's nothing he could do about it.
Yeah, that away, David Reagan. Nice view from his onboard camera as we see him just barely get through there. Let's hear what Kurt Busch had to say after that little spin.
Yeah, it was all my fault. Drove in deep, grabbed a little brake, had rear brake just dialed into it. He was on top of us. It was a perfect storm for a spin. I should have known better.
So Kurt was taking the blame on that one, Kenny.
Okay, look, he drives in too hard. He's loose as it is. So that means when you're loose, you cannot turn the car left. If you turn left, you'll spin out. And what he said by the perfect storm is because Juan Pablo is on his outside, that means the air cannot come around and get to his rear spoiler because Juan Pablo is robbing the air. As he said, it was a perfect storm.
Well, this was the 5th caution on lap number 108 as Kyle Busch's car bursts into flames. And again, that was the end to a not very good day for Kyle Busch. Didn't want it to happen this way for a guy in the hometown hero category who really wanted to do well this afternoon.
It's blowed up, guys. There's flames in my face. Load it up. Let's go to the house.
When there are flames in your face, that is not a good thing for the driver of a race car. More beating and banging going on here today as we see back in the field as the 16 of Greg Biffle and the 99 his teammate Carl Edwards passes him almost like he's standing still.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, right now we're figuring out who stands out in the Roush camp. And Kyle Petty, it looks like that man is the fastest car in the Roush camp.
Yeah, these two guys right here, if you look at the 16 and the 99, these two guys pretty much put themselves up front. And we thought Matt was going to be there. Here's the 16 out of gas. Now, the gas is becoming an issue. The fueling systems, the Sunoco fueling systems that they have with the new fuel and stuff, it's a different can than what we've had. We don't have a catch can. It's a closed system. These teams are struggling to know when their cars are full, and they don't always get the car full.
The Sunoco Green E15 ethanol, there's nothing wrong with the fuel. It is this new venting. It gets rid of the catch can man. But see there, Kyle? It's a new system. They don't know when it's full of gas or not.
Yeah, there's steer eye bubbles in there, and that's when it's not full, when it's still pumping air.
And Greg was not too happy with what happened on pit road.
Nice one, guys. Nice one. Guess we got to work on our fuel deal a little bit, huh? Everybody's speeding us on pit road, and we're not getting it full. That's nice.
Now, Greg was obviously disappointed about that because it cost him eventually a shot at winning this race and also a finish way back in the field. But the thing about the new gas cans is it just really doesn't leave much room for air. You got to go straight in there, and you got to wait long enough.
You got to wait, and that's the thing, to be patient. And you heard Greg say that we're getting beat off pit road and we're not getting the car full of gas. That's just frustration. But you put it in there, and used to, you would jam the fuel can, and the catch can man would watch. And when the fuel began to come out of the overflow, he would raise his hand. The gas guy has to do all that. He has to watch that vent tube. He has to keep it straight. And when the air bubbles start, then it starts to swirl, and then you see the fuel. You have to wait that long. It's not full when the first air bubbles come up. We've heard all these fuel guys talk about it, and they've just got to be a little bit more patient. And it pays to stay an extra second on pit road than to run out of fuel 4 or 5 laps early.
And let's remember why we have the new fueling system. NASCAR said, hey, we can take 43 men off of pit road, 1 man from each car. And remember the old catch can man he would get run into, cut his leg off. It was horrible. This is a good deal. These guys just got to remember and watch, when is the car full.
When we come back, we'll have the second half highlights and a little bit more fuel problems going on, as well as some tire issues for some of the front runners in this race. Stay with us. More to come on NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco. Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco, as Carl Edwards celebrates his second win at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but also his first win of the season. And there goes the champagne. You know, they waste a lot of really good champagne around here.
Oh, they try to drink it.
Well, I know you got to drink some, but you also got to score some. I'm glad we're out of firing range, because now we can bring you the second half highlights of the Kobalt Tools 400 here from Vegas, as the guys get their uniforms wet and, you know, sticky along the way. And this is Carl Edwards' car in the second half of the race. And Tony Stewart looked like he had the car to beat, because he had locked up leading the most laps very early on. But as you see, Carl looks like he's out for just a Sunday drive.
Well, Carl quickly established himself as one of the top 2 cars. And here he is. And look at the lead he has. Early in the race, you could tell, Kyle, whenever the leader was in front, he was gone.
Yeah, once you got that clean air, you took off. You see the 24 car here. That's a really hard hit. He comes from the bottom of the racetrack. He cuts a right front tire, and he goes from the bottom of the racetrack all the way up. And it doesn't look like a hard hit, but I'm telling you something. That's pretty tough. You see the way this thing is turned out right there. When you hit on that right front, and Kenny, you know it, when you hit on that right front, slab-sided on that side, it's a tough way to hit.
And we say it weekend after weekend. It is a very humbling sport. Jeff Gordon goes from victory lane at Phoenix to having a busted-up race car and being out of the race at this point. Now, 2 tires. Tony Stewart decided to do that move in the pit along with crew chief Darian Grubb, and it got him back out in the lead, but still with only 2 fresh tires.
But at this time, you're looking at Tony Stewart, race fans, and you're saying, oh, my Lord, he took the biggest lead of the day, Kyle. 2 tires, and he pulled a straightaway. And at this time, we're like, there's no doubt that is the fastest car of the day.
And every car that led did this, but Tony Stewart stretched that lead farther than anybody else did all day long.
2.4 seconds was the lead for Tony Stewart at that point. And Daytona 500 winner Trevor Bayne gets a little nudge from pole sitter Matt Kenseth and slides up the racetrack.
Yes, and Trevor Bayne goes on to finish 20th, and Matt the Brat Kenseth gets an 11th place finish. So, you know, you get a little bit loose. Here's Trevor. He cannot turn the wheel left like he wants to, because he's already fighting a loose race car. But this is what's great about this new car. You can bang it off the wall, and, of course, the new soft wall really helped.
Yeah, we saw the 24 car do it last week, bang it off the wall and come back and win the race. Here's the 14 car on their stop. You see them on the right side. They come around to the left side.
And
they took 4 tires.
Yeah,
4 tires.
That was their strategy.
This is the money stop. This is the stop to win the race, but 4 tires gets him 2nd place.
That's back to the 99, and Bob Osborne and company decided to go just for 2 tires. They were in the position to do this. Tony was not.
Tony was not in a position because he had taken 2 tires the time before and took the lead. So when you start looking at this, and you see the 16 car here, another pit stop, another slow. You see, trying to get the fuel can in, can't get the fuel can. There, boom, he drives off. That's a full can of fuel laying in the middle of pit road, and he missed it. So he only got 1 can of fuel in.
Yeah, there's drama there. There's obviously, that was really nasty looking for such professional race teams. But Carl Edwards from Columbia, Missouri, wins the race.
And, you know, that's 4 out of the last 5 races for Ford. That is the 7th victory for Roush Fenway Racing here at Las Vegas. And another great story today, Marcus Ambrose in the 9.
Oh, that is just awesome right here. I mean, Kyle, your dad's doing a good job over there, Richard Petty Motorsports.
Hey, AJ's been up in the top a little bit in points. You got Marcus running good. Both those cars are running solid, but let's be honest, the Fords are running solid. You see Tony right there. This was Tony chasing down the 42 car of Juan Pablo for 2nd place. But here you see Bob. And these guys are so excited. I know they've been to victory lane. We saw the 2014 go to victory lane of Jeff Gordon last week and how excited he was. These guys have won 3 out of the last 5, and they still get pumped up.
And Carl stuck the landing on the backflip. Not bad at all as he goes over to get his checkered flag as well. And as we see a beautiful shot of the scenery around here, let's take a look at the finishing order. The Kobalt Tools 400. It's Carl Edwards Stewart. A great run for Montoya, Ambrose, and Ryan Newman finished in the top 5. Martin Truex Jr. had a shot at sticking up front. One of the true comeback stories. Denny Hamlin started in the back of the pack and came up for a top 10 finish. Not too shabby.
No, and Matt had a great comeback. To get a lap down and not make it up until almost two-thirds of the race is gone. Ruderman had a good solid run, and he needed that.
Jeff Burton still back in the 21st spot, not where those guys are used to running. A little bit of a disappointment for Bobby Labonte, who came in the top 10 in points. McMurray, Biffle, Skinner, and Elliott round out your top 30.
That Mike Skinner car is going to be a sleeper. He's locked into points. Just thought it was going to be a start and park. Robbie Gordon, he was in a wreck earlier. Andy Lally, ace road racer, trying NASCAR out.
Tony Raines in 35th, and then Michael McDowell, Joe Nemechek, and Landon Castle round out your field of 43 finishers. And let's take a look at the points here in the Neon Garage because they are shaken up right now.
Wow.
Stewart is your points leader tied with Kurt Busch. Another tie with Carl Edwards and Juan Pablo, just 7 back.
But I believe Tony Stewart wins today. Kurt Busch does not have a win this year, so Tony Stewart is the tiebreaker. He is officially your points leader.
And then it's Ryan Newman, Paul Menard, and Denny Hamlin all the way back to 7th. It's Truex. A.J. Allmendinger still finds himself in the top 10 in points. And also Mark the Kid Martin, 22 back, is in the 10th spot.
I'm still not used to this, just seeing guys in 5th place 10 points back. I got to be honest. I got to be honest.
I don't think NASCAR thought we'd have so many ties, but race fans, we do have tiebreakers by the best finishing position car, so they'll go by that.
I say bring on the tiebreakers.
I'm ready.
We love
the drama.
It's a whole new ball game. We want to remind you that one of the best new car building shows on TV is Car Warriors. Don't miss the most talked about new car building show on TV. Car Warriors, sparks fly and tempers boil over when a team of hotshot challengers race the All-Stars to build a car from scratch in 72 hours. Car Warriors is all new Wednesday at 9 Eastern only on Speed. As they go through the final post-race inspection, there's the 99 car. Driver Carl Edwards will join us next. Welcome back to Vegas, everyone, in NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco. You know, you may have forgotten from last year because we had a couple months in between, but Carl Edwards has been on a roll lately. Now, 4 of the last 5 races were won by Fords, and now, 3 of the last 5 have been won by Carl Edwards. Congratulations, man. I know each one of these is so sweet because you recently had a winless drought that you went through. So
Yes, I did.
Yes, and broke it last season. Each one of these wins just has to be so unique and special in and of itself.
The wins are huge. Being on Victory Lane is huge with you guys. This is good. It's just a great day. We had a lot of fun. I think that Tony was the car to beat all day. That car was lightning fast. But those guys took 2 tires with 60 or 70 laps to go. So and he took off. So then Bob said, hey, let's try it. Let's take 2 tires. We came in. We pitted. The guys did a great job. I barely beat Juan Montoya once we got back on the racetrack. So this pit stop was key. If it would have been half a second longer, we would not have won the race. My guys did a great job.
Carl, when anybody wins a Sprint Cup race, it's one of the biggest victories in all of motorsports. You have decided to give your trophy to the pilot of the Thunderbirds. Why do you give your trophies away that are so hard to win?
I like to see people enjoy those trophies. Those trophies are so special. And I grew up in my dad's Volkswagen shop. You know, I'd work there, and he had this kind of old building with a nasty old room with a bunch of parts sitting in it. He had about 70 or 80 trophies sitting up on a shelf collecting dust. Nobody's enjoying those trophies.
Yeah.
I mean, Dad won a lot of trophies. And so I saw a guy at my local dirt track giving them away, and I thought that's a great idea. And these Thunderbirds, if you guys haven't been over there, you got to go check it out. It's an amazing group of guys. They represent the Air Force wonderfully, and they showed me a lot about commitment to what you love. So they'll have that trophy over there at their hangar.
Hey, we saw a few cars have right front trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that, from your perspective, did you feel anything with the right front, or was that more? Was it a tire issue or a setup issue, I guess is my question. What do you think?
I asked Bob. I said, hey, is that heat or wear? What's going on there? And he didn't know. He wasn't able to tell me during the race, so I don't know exactly what happened. I have to say that the Goodyear tires and the way this track has aged, it is man, it's fun to drive. I mean, you're just sliding the car around, pitching it sideways down to the corner. But it looks like a couple of guys had issues. I saw his skid marks going into the wall. Jeff hit a ton, so glad he's okay.
Now, Carl, were you messing with Bob or were you serious? Did you hear some top-end noise?
I really did hear some noise. But, man, you hear everything. When you're leading the race, and it's like 5 to go, you start hearing things and feeling vibrations. And right at the end of the straightaway, it sounded like it was missing a little bit, like a valve spring was having a little bit of trouble. So we'll take it apart and see. But, it just – you got all the nerves going. You want to win so bad, and sometimes you imagine things. So it might have been that.
Okay, you won the last 2 races last year with the old car.
Yep.
You've run 3 races with what I consider a new car because it's a new nose. And we saw guys get in the corner side by. I didn't see you side-by-side race with anybody. You just blew by them on the outside or blew by them on the inside. But we saw the inside car get a little bit freer under this configuration than I remember it last year. Was that an issue?
That's I hadn't thought of it compared to the car before. But when I followed Kurt down into turn 3, I mean, his car pitched sideways. He did a heck of a job, staying off of Montoya. But I mean, that was unbelievable, how hard his car yawed when he went down the corner. He did a really good job saving it. But I don't know. I don't know if it's the new car or if it's just how slippery this racetrack is. It's a really tough racetrack to get a hold of.
Carl, every year there's a team that rises to the front, like Hendrick Motorsports. Now all of a sudden, here we are with all the Roush cars qualifying up in the top 5. We've seen Marcos Ambrose in a Ford finishing 4th. Why are you guys so fast at the end of last year and the start of this year?
It's a really good question. In the offseason, I called Bob.
I
called Robbie. I called an engineer. I said, why are we so fast all of a sudden? There's just something I don't know. Because they won't tell me everything, And they say no. It's just that there's not one special thing. It's that the engines are a little better. They've been working hard on the bodies. They've been working hard on the chassis. They've been working hard on the simulation stuff. Robbie Reiser is the man. I mean, he runs that shop really, really well. Jack is doing a great job keeping everybody motivated like he always does, and it's just the whole team's coming together. But that engine, I think, is the key. The engine's huge.
All right, well, this victory was huge for you guys. Great team effort. Can you sign our Sunoco flag for us, Carl?
For sure, yeah, that's my pleasure.
All right, congratulations to the number 99 team each week here on NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco. One lucky fan will receive the Sunoco checkered flag, autographed by the winner of the race. Enter online at speed.com, keyword Sunoco, to win the flag that Carl Edwards is signing right now. NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco, fueling victories on and off the track. Congratulations once again to Carl, and we're going to talk to the pit boss when we come back. The man on top of the pit box, Bob Osborne, when we come back. Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco. We're coming to you from Victory Lane at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, where the number 99 team has win number 1 of the season. The way they work today, it looks like there could be many more to come. Now, if you don't believe this is a team sport, you obviously didn't watch the race today. Crew Chief Bob Osborne is here. And, Bob, we want to start out by giving your crew what we call our Hamburger Helper Most Helpful Pit Crew Award. But tell us about the decision and the execution of the 2-tire stop that really helped Carl to Victory Lane.
Well, I think the decision for me, was pretty easy. We weren't going to win taking 4 there. Tony had us covered for sure. The 42 had us covered, I think. We needed track position, and we were borderline on gas. At this point, finishing 4th, 5th, 6th versus taking the chance and finishing 1st, I thought was worth it. And pit crew, awesome job. Flawless pit stop, 2 tires. Waited the right amount of time for fuel just to get us enough to be able to make it to the end. It was great.
Yeah, to stay on that same subject, Tony had taken 2, and then the last stop had to take 4. And when he took 2 and got track position, he checked out.
Yes.
Did you see that and say, okay, I'm not as worried about taking 2?
Very much so. He was a rocket ship, and he was a rocket ship on 2 tires, so I figured we were pretty darn good when we were leading, so I figured 2 tires wouldn't kill us too bad. And we just needed some way to leapfrog those guys, and that's really all we had.
Bob, going back to last year, so far you've won 3 out of the last 5 races. You've been dominant. Now, last week you got taken out by Kyle Busch. I have never seen so much emotion out of you as you see Kyle come down on your car. Your emotion, I've never seen you like this. You were very upset. Tell me about your thought about last week.
That's
look
at that. Well, I don't even remember doing that part. I remember stomping my foot, but I don't remember banging my hands. It's, you feel like it was early in the race for sure, but I felt like we had a a car that could win that race, and fairly dominant car. He was driving it pretty easy and making great lap times, and it's one of those days where you have that one of those cars and just something silly takes you out of the contention for it, and it was frustrating for sure, and I showed it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I think it was great.
Yeah, it was. They complain when people don't show up.
Yeah,
That's good when you do.
Yeah, I catch a lot of flack for being.
Oh, that was good. I want to ask you. I asked Carl this same question, and he said you didn't see any issues with the right front tire. Obviously, there were a number of teams that had some right front tire issues. Do you believe that to be a tire issue, or was it predominantly a setup issue? And we've all gone through it before, where some cars have issues and some cars don't.
Generally, when it's not field wide, it goes back to setups being a root cause. You know, you can be borderline on it and not have a problem all day and get a tire that might be a little different. They're handmade tires. We know they're not, you know, off of a machine that's precise to the thousandth. We know they're handmade, so they vary a little bit, and we all take that for granted and deal with it on a weekly basis. But at the end of the day, the setups are what make the tires do what they do. So you have to say that the setups were more the cause than anything.
Hey, Bob, at the beginning of the season at Daytona, we talked to a lot of crew chiefs who said this isn't much fun for us because there's not much we can do. At a racetrack like this, there's a lot a crew chief can do. Do you find it the challenge more fun to come to a place like this, to be able to actually work and adjust your car?
I do. You know, drivers go to racetracks to drive. They don't. You know, I don't know, but I would figure the Talladegas and the Daytonas are, you know, very intense for you guys. But it's not like you're managing a loose race car or managing a tight race car, and your inputs are making a difference on how fast the car is going necessarily. So the drivers like these style racetracks more, I think. Same for the crew chief. We try to make the cars as low drag for super speedways as we can, and after that's done, you got what you got. And here we can manipulate springs, bars, you know, all the widgets and gadgets that we have in our arsenal to make the car better. And when you change something, it shows. At the bigger super speedways, nothing really shows up, so we don't have any fun there.
Well, Bob, you guys did it right today, and I'm sure this win is a lot of fun. Congratulations, and keep up the good work.
Yay!
That's crew chief Bob Osborne of the number 99. And as we send Bob off with a trophy, we're going to send it back now to Adam Alexander in the Speed Center, who has the rest of the news from the world of motorsports coming your way in just a moment. Let's send it to Double A.
All right, thanks.
You know, on Wednesday, you better not miss the most talked about new car building show on TV, Car Warriors. Sparks fly and tempers boil over when a team of hotshot challengers race the All-Stars to build what kind of El Camino, Kyle Petty?
Tricked out El Camino.
A tricked out El Camino in only 72 hours. Car Warriors is all new and only on Speed. So often in Sprint Cup competition, the driver who leads the most laps does not go on to win the race. That was the case today for Tony Stewart, but still he came home second on a very impressive run for the number 14. Let's go to Bob Dillner.
Tony Stewart very strong here in Vegas. Trouble on pit road, some pit strategy at the end of the race, but still a good finish for you. Your evaluation of today's race, Tony?
Well, I mean, we were good. I think we were the best car today, but we were the best car and we didn't win the race, and that, to me, doesn't make a successful day. So not very happy about it.
I know you're not very happy. You're a racer, and that's why. But take a look at the last two races, and even Ryan Newman, your organization going into the break, pretty darn strong, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I still don't understand why NASCAR gives us a break after 3 weeks, because none of us need it, none of us are ready for it. We'd rather have it right before the chase, and I think our organization wants to keep going where we're at right now, and I don't want a break. I don't want the week off to cool off.
He's got momentum on his side. Both teams looking very strong.
Bob, thanks a lot. Yeah, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch there with the 14 and the 39. But, when Tony says you had the best car but didn't win the race, they don't think that's a very productive day. Let's take a look at the pit stop that didn't go so well for these guys. If you keep an eye on the back of the car, you'll see them drag that hose out of the pit box. When the hose and the air gun leaves the pit box, that is a penalty.
The rule is this. You cannot let any tools leave your pit box. That's what the rule says. So there went the air hose. You could barely see it behind the car, but it's completely devastating.
Here's the 4-tire stop later on. And again, Darian Grubb and company, Kyle, had no choice but to take 4 tires here.
Exactly. Just as we were talking with Bob Osborne earlier, when you take 2 one time, you have to take 4 the next time. We don't always see that at Daytona and Talladega because of tire wear. But at a place like this, because of the tire wear, you couldn't afford to put that many laps on those left side tires.
And still, though, what the 14 team and Tony Stewart did, you know he's not happy about it because he comes out here to win. But still, a second-place finish, the way they had to battle back is not bad.
Well, when you're a race car driver and you're leading every lap and you're leading all day long, you become devastated when you realize, oh, my God, I'm not going to win. I've led this race all day. So that's why Tony is a little upset, Kyle. I mean, you've been there before. You know, it's just incredible.
Yeah, the best part is Tony runs second and wants to race again next week. He does not want to kill his momentum for that team. And if these guys that finish 35th and 36th, they want to go back to the shop, lick their wounds for a week, try to regroup, and go. So we've got 2 ends of the spectrum here. But it would be nice for him not to have a break early.
Yeah, and the good thing for Tony is he knows the boss. I mean, can't fire himself, right?
Right.
The boss is going to be just as mad as Tony is after this day. But nonetheless, great team effort for the number 14. And the Truck Series does not have next weekend off. The Camping World Truck Series will go down to Darlington. Watch stars the magnitude of Casey Kane run on March 12th. The toughest truckers dance into the Lady in Black. This is no tango. It's a full throttle mosh pit. It's Darlington, March 12th at 4:30 Eastern Time. Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco. There's some of the beautiful scenery around this Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And on the racetrack today, there were so many comeback stories, but here's one that dates back to last year. Remember when Marcus Ambrose said he was going to go race for Richard Petty Motorsports, there was a question as to whether or not he would have a ride or not if the team was going to actually compete. But in this case, they put their team together, got Marcus back out on the racetrack, and finished today in the top 5. Let's go to Bob Dillner.
Congratulations all around from crew chief Todd Parrott, the entire team, from Marcus Ambrose. And nice to see Marcus Ambrose on an oval in the top 5 here. New team, what does this finish mean here today for you?
It means to keep my job for a couple of weeks. You know, we had a rough start. We got crashed at Daytona and it was pretty quiet at Phoenix. So to come out here, my first 1.5 mile experience for this team, to qualify front row, finish top 5, just a great result for us. I just got to thank Richard Petty and everybody at RPM for giving me the chance. You know, I've been through a lot the last few months, and it's just great to come back from adversity and really start delivering. And we've got some mojo. You know, we're really getting after it. And Todd Power on the box, he's making some great calls and keeping me calm behind the wheel, which is not an easy task. And we're working at it. You know, we're just getting better and better every week. And he's starting to understand what I need from the car, and I'm starting to understand, you know, what feedback he needs to make the car go better.
Were you staying calm in the waning part of this race because you were catching the guy in front of you? You almost got the podium.
I know. Well, there's no podium in NASCAR, you know. Like, I was thinking, well, top 3 goes to the press conference, but, you know, the wind was such an important factor out there today, and I get close and start to lose the nose. I start moving around, wait for lap traffic trying to make a move, but, you know, you're up against Montoya and Smoke. You know, it's not like they're going to give it to you. You know what I mean?
Perseverance pays off for Marcus Ambrose.
Yeah, Bob, that's exactly right. Perseverance there, and it's good to see a smile on his face. Now, Marcus is almost always smiling anyway. He might get a little fizzed up and pop a couple of tin tops today, but that is just a really nice story to see.
It really is for the whole Richard Petty Motorsports organization. AJ has finished in the top, right at the top 10 or 11.
Still in the top 10 in points.
Races still in the top 10 in points. Marcos, as he said, had a couple of issues, but he comes back and he runs good. He runs strong, and they felt like they had a shot. They passed people today. They raced hard today, and that's a good sign for Todd Parrott and for that team.
I think what I like listening to is the human element. You know, we're all about winning. The whole sport is about winning. That's what we want to do. But yet, at the very end, you hear Marcos saying, there is no podium finishes here, you know, where the 3 people stand on top, you know, the pyramid, so to speak, like they do in sports cars. But he wanted to finish 3rd so bad. Why? So he could go to the media center and feel the pride. So I really applaud Marcos. He made a daring move, you know, by leaving, you know, Tad Geschecter, which that is the number 47 car last year. And then all of a sudden the car he's going to go to says, we might not have the ride for you. Richard Petty saves the day, finds investors. So this man has been through so much. Congratulations to Marcos Ambrose for overcoming and prevailing.
And that is what you call perseverance for those guys hanging in there like they did. Now, a lot of trouble on the racetrack for some of the top guys in this sport. Jeff Gordon, the 4-time champion, hit the wall, and also trouble for Kyle Busch. We will hear from these drivers and more when we come back to NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco.
NASCAR Victory Lane is fueled by Sunoco, the official fuel of NASCAR. Put the fuel of NASCAR in your car. Brought to you in high definition by Funai. Funai, fun and innovative. Experience more at FunaiAmerica.com. And by Hamburger Helper. 1 pound, 1 pan, 1 tasty meal.
Well, if you want to stay in the know about what's going on in the world of NASCAR, you need to tune into the Race Hub. This Monday, we have a Vegas recap with Larry Mack in the studio. Tuesday, it's Kurt Busch and the Camping World Truck Series rookies. Wednesday, it's the GOAT, Ricky Carmichael, and BK2, Jimmy Maycar, Randy Beverton, and Jimmy Spencer on Thursday. Be sure to tune in for that. Now, for the local favorites, the Busch brothers, this was not the kind of day they were looking for. Kyle had won here before. Kurt had not, but it definitely was not in the cards today. Let's take a look at what went on, first of all, for little brother Kyle, and this was fairly early in the race. Tire gives way. He goes up into the outside retaining wall, and this was the start to several bad incidents on the racetrack for the Shrub.
No warning, no vibration, no nothing. It just went down.
Now let's go on to big brother Kurt, who had his share of troubles today, and this one was a little spin. He said it was the perfect storm for a spin shortly after a restart. He just barely misses. Juan Pablo Montoya comes down across the racetrack, does a great job to hold on, and afterwards Kurt took the blame.
Yeah, it was all my fault. Drove in deep, grabbed a little brake, had rear brake just dialed into it. He was on top of us. It was a perfect storm for a spin. I should have known better.
Now let's go back to little brother Kyle as his car simply blows up at this point. This time it was an engine problem, and he knew it was time to head to the house, that his day was over here at Vegas.
How bad is it, Eddie?
It's blowed up, guys. There's flames in my face. Load it up. Let's go to the house.
I've been blowing tires, mowing grass, knocking walls down, and setting balls of fire down a backstretch. And Kurt's been doing loop-de-doos through turn 4 today, so we're having problems of our own here in our hometown. It might be good just to get out of here and come back and try again next year.
Well, it's the hometown track for the Busch brothers because they cut their teeth here driving in the bull ring. So you always want to do good at your hometown track, but it simply wasn't in the cards for them today, Kyle.
Not for these guys. And, you know, this is their home track. You know, we talk about Charlotte being so many teams' home track, but this is where they're from. They grew up right off of turn 3 and 4 there, or 1 and 2, running the bull ring, running those Legends cars, and becoming Kurt Busch and Kyle Busch. They wanted to do good, but not today, man.
You know, you always hear baseball, football players saying, man, I love playing at home, but I don't love playing home because people ask for tickets. You feel a little bit of pressure. The Busch boys, you know, they're high schoolers right here. I mean, it's crazy to believe, but they're actually Las Vegas City boys. This is their home turf. So they want to get out of here now because the pressure's off. And it's kind of weird to say, but they just want to get back to normality.
Exactly. Now, Jeff Gordon would like to get back to a little normality, and that's winning for him. He got back to victory lane in Phoenix, but how quickly this sport can humble you. Tire problem for the 4-time champion and the 1-time Las Vegas winner, ended any hopes of his repeating back-to-back victories. So for Jeff Gordon, the day ended at that point, not the way he wanted to follow up his victory just 1 week ago at Phoenix. So it was a bad break for Jeff and something he wants to put in the rearview mirror and simply move on.
The day actually started out pretty good for the DuPont Chevrolet. We were, further up to the front than I thought we were going to be based on practice yesterday, so pretty happy with that. But the track, kept tightening up, and we just couldn't stay up with it. So we started falling back there a little bit on those restarts and just kind of holding our own. And we were definitely fighting a tight condition right there. But I certainly wasn't expecting to blow a tire like that going into 3. So thankful for the safer barriers here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway and a safe race car. Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, we're thankful for that as well, as that's a 4-time champ, Jeff Gordon there. Not in the cards for him today, but now we have a week off, and it was so funny to hear the different perspectives of the drivers. If you ran well, you don't want a week off. You want to keep going and keep the momentum going. But if you ran poorly, I think those guys really want to go back to the shop, regroup, get a little bit of wind back in their sails again, and then go to Bristol, guys, a place that is great for the Busch brothers.
Yeah, we heard Tony. Tony and some of those guys, they want to keep going. They just want to race. The guys that run in the top 3 or 4, if you ask Juan, he's probably wanting to race right now. You heard Jeff. You know, that's it. We got a week off. We'll regroup and we'll go to Bristol. You talk to the Busch brothers. Those guys love to go to Bristol. Kyle swept there last year. Now think about that. That's the only place that he swept a racetrack, meaning the trucks, the Nationwide, and the Cup Series, which is phenomenal. And you go there, Kurt, he's a threat every time you go there. So at least those guys have stuff to look forward to. Some of these teams, they're not looking forward to Bristol.
Race fans, I look forward to Bristol because to me, it is the biggest and most atmosphere you're ever going to find in our sport. You come to Bristol Motor Speedway, you will not forget it. But as far as me, the Herminator, next week I'm going to run my dirt car in Coffeyville, Oklahoma, and Humboldt, Kansas.
And there will still be plenty of racing going on. Of course, we have the Camping World Truck Series, but for everybody else, you got to regroup because, as Larry McReynolds always likes to say, you got to leave your attitude outside of that racetrack on 19 and 11, by the way, before you go in there. Some guys just get mad before they even start.
Yeah, some guys are just get an attitude on Monday, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and they're really teed off by the time the race is over with. But you got to go in there, you got to be patient. It's a patient place.
My favorite quote about Bristol is Kenny Schrader. He goes around and apologizes to all the drivers before the race starts.
They said, what are you apologizing for? I don't know.
I might hit you.
Exactly.
Right now. I want to say congratulations once again to Carl Edwards and the rest of the number 99 team for getting their first victory of the season. Their second here at Las Vegas. We're going to take a weekend off, but there will still be lots going on in the world of motorsports. Be sure to tune into the Hub. Have a great week, everybody.